As a survivor of narcissistic abuse, I can't tell you the number of times I've experienced the silent treatment. My narcissistic mother used it regularly as a way to punish me. It's definitely high on the narcissist's list of abuse. But what does it mean when a guy gives you the silent treatment? If you're ready to finally understand your guy's use of the silent treatment, read on to learn about the various reasons he might shut you out. It's a common way for narcissists in particular to try to get you to do what they want, and if you've never experienced it before, it will drive you crazy. When you understand it, however, it's easier to figure out what you should do about it. Here is a list of 6 common reasons why your guy might be employing the silent treatment. He struggles to communicate effectively. Men often struggle to communicate effectively. We live in a culture that encourages them to be stoic and not express their emotions, much less their needs. It's not at all uncommon, therefore, that men will simply stay silent rather than talk about their feelings. This is particularly true with a narcissistic man. If you're unfamiliar with some of the traits of narcissists, check out this video about narcissistic fathers. First of all, he doesn't want anyone to think he is vulnerable in any way. Therefore, he would rather stay silent than speak up, because talking about it might give you too much insight into his true character. When my mother got to the point where she felt she couldn't quite express her emotions, or it was dangerous, that is, vulnerable, for her to do so, she would go silent. Imagine how difficult it is for a man to express his emotions. Even a man who's not a narcissist finds it difficult to expose his vulnerabilities in our culture. For a narcissist, the fear of ridicule is even greater. A narcissist who feels as though his true self has been exposed suffers what is called a narcissistic injury. This can often result in explosive eruptions of rage, and in some cases it can lead a narcissist to abandon his entire family. He would rather run away than face the consequences of that exposure. He's concerned about his image. For a narcissist, it's all about the image. Narcissism develops early in life when the normal human psychosocial development process is interrupted. This is often caused by childhood trauma that results from either abusive or overprotective parents. For more information on how narcissism develops, check out this video. When that disruption occurs, however, the child is filled with shame because he comes to believe himself incapable of doing anything for himself. That also causes him to be filled with self-loathing. That's a difficult thing to believe about yourself, and so this child buries what he believes to be his flawed true self. He constructs a false self-image that he then fills with grandiose ideas of superiority, omniscience, and omnipotence. That false self, however, is not a true internal identity mechanism, and so it can't prop up the child's self-esteem or soothe him when he faces a challenge. That's why the narcissist needs other people. They need external validation, and to get that, they must maintain their grandiose image at all times. If you confront him with an uncomfortable truth, you threaten that fragile false image. That's a narcissistic injury, and it might cause your guy to shut up to prevent him from showing any level of vulnerability. Vulnerability means risking the exposure of his flawed true self. He can't take responsibility for his actions. If you're dealing with a narcissistic guy, it's quite possible his silence is his way of refusing to take responsibility for his actions. This is another part of preserving his fragile image. To take responsibility is to admit you are flawed in some way. That's not something a narcissist can do because it exposes the false nature of their carefully constructed self-image. Even when something is a success, narcissists often won't take full responsibility, lest something goes south later on. It's always a balancing act for the narcissist between their desire for attention and their need to not be blamed for anything that goes wrong. They want the glory, but they often stay silent to avoid any possible failure that might crop up later on. This is another reason a narcissistic man might stay quiet when you're trying to get the truth out of him. He won't take responsibility for anything because it's too damaging to his internal identity mechanism. He's in a rage. Narcissistic men also use the silent treatment as a way to express their narcissistic rage. When you trigger a narcissistic injury, one common response is an explosive eruption of rage. While silence may seem like a better alternative, it can also be used as a means to express rage. When you're the target of the silent treatment, it's not the peaceful alternative you think you will prefer. Narcissists don't use it in that way. It's actually very rageful, and they are sure to let you know in other ways that they are upset. It won't provide you with the quiet peace you might think it will produce. It will still be full of rageful behavior that will be obvious. Culture also plays a role here, as men are taught that they have to be very careful about how they express rage, lest they be accused of physical abuse. That's why many men will opt for silence instead. Still, especially for the narcissist, this is anything but kind. The goal is to get you to keep asking them, maybe even to beg them to tell you what is wrong. He knows he's wrong. Whenever a narcissist is wrong, you can be sure he will use the silent treatment to keep from having to admit it. Their fragile ego won't allow them to admit they have made an error, but you can recognize that they know it when they give you the silent treatment. Often they are using silence to think of how they should address the mistake they have made. Like my mother, they are trying to determine an effective way to shift the blame onto someone or something else. I remember the time my mother made a clear mistake. She knew she had done something wrong, but when I tried to talk to her about it, I was met with stone-cold silence. A day or two later, she finally started talking, and she had somehow managed to twist the situation around so that it was my fault. Her logic was that I had caused her to make a mistake, and this is what many a toxic manipulator will do. The mistake wasn't made because of some inherent flaw they have. It was somehow your fault. You distracted or confused them, which is what ultimately caused the error. If your guy is a narcissist, he may use the silent treatment to buy time, to come up with some way that his mistake is your fault. He needs to feel like a hero. Another reason that your guy might be giving you the silent treatment is that he needs to feel like a hero, and you are not making him feel that way. Remember that a narcissist has developed grandiose ideas of superiority. For a man, this often means a superhero image, and he expects you and other people around him to bolster that image. If you aren't providing him with enough praise, he might go silent in protest. If you notice he is remaining silent, you might try giving him some extra praise for his efforts. Let him know he is your hero. If that doesn't do the trick, then he might have another reason for being quiet. In the end, narcissistic men often use the silent treatment as a way of letting you know they've let you down. There are some tactics you can try to get them talking again, but it's very important not to let them know the technique is working. If you show weakness, they will use it regularly. If you downplay their use of this abusive tactic, they will eventually abandon the effort. It can be hard, however, because the silent treatment might be triggering emotional wounds you have from your own life experiences. I know that was true for me, so I developed this 5-step roadmap to heal emotional triggers to help you recognize, diffuse, and even heal your emotional triggers. It's free, and I will send you a copy directly to your inbox if you click on the link below this video. It will help you begin the journey of healing your own wounds so that you can better deal with tactics like the silent treatment. Thanks for watching.